morning, Internet, and welcome back to The Last of Us. In the last episode, oh my gosh, we found the hospital. We need to get in. We have to not die beforehand.
Here, come on.
What? Come on! Joel, what the heck? What's your problem? This is ridiculous, Joel. But good morning, Internet, and welcome. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. That way you'll be notified next time that we go live, and you'll be able to hang out with us while we're live.
Ellie!
Holy moly. Hello, Elmo. How's it going? Today we're finally beating the game on Grounded difficulty, and then we're going to watch the Grounded Making of Last of Us documentary at the end.
Ellie, give me your hand! Give me your hand before
As long as YouTube doesn't copyright claim it. My gosh, no, Ellie, not Ellie. She doesn't know how to swim. She forgot how to breathe underwater. All of the worst combinations. Very exciting, yes. This is my first time beating The Last of Us on PS5. You eating hot wings? Oh, that's a perfect time to eat hot wings when Ellie's dying! Where'd you get hot wings on Easter? I guess you're eating it at home. It's also Easter today.
hands in the air!
She's not breathing.
Hands in the fucking air!
Come on.
Ellie. Ellie! Ellie! Uber Eats? Oh, okay.
Welcome to the Fireflies.
I didn't know any were open today.
Sorry about that. They didn't know who you were.
And Ellie?
She's all right. They brought her back. You came all this way. How'd you do it?
It was her. She fought like hell to get here. Maybe it was meant to be.
I lost most of my crew crossing the country. I pretty much lost everything. And then you show up, and somehow we find you just in time to save her. Maybe it was meant to be.
Take me to her.
You don't have to worry about her anymore. We'll take care
I
of her.
worry. Just let me see her, please.
You can't. She's being prepped for surgery.
The hell do you mean, surgery?
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine. A vaccine.
But it grows all over the brain.
It does.
She has to die.
Find someone else.
There is no one else.
Listen, you were gonna show me where
Stop. I get it. But whatever it is you think you're going through right now is nothing to what I have been through. I knew her since she was born. I promised her mother I would look after her.
Then why are you letting this happen?
Because this isn't about me, or even her. There is no other choice here.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that bullshit.
March him out of here. He tries anything, shoot him. Don't waste this gift, Joel.
What would you guys do in this situation?
Get up. said get up.
Shank her. But for the good of humanity, if we let Ellie die, then they could potentially get a cure. But as we saw in the last episode, infected are our friends.
I said move. Give me an excuse.
That's what you do, yeah.
Which way? What the fuck you doing? Keep walking. I said keep walking.
Yeah, you don't need a cure. They're nice. I know.
Where was the operating room? I ain't got time for this. Where? Top floor, the far end.
I guess maybe the infected aren't nice to everybody else, but they're nice to Joel and Ellie, or at least they won't kill them, let's just say. The infected won't kill Joel and Ellie. That also works. Yeah. Because, I mean, will the infected kill everybody else? Probably. But these guys don't deserve to be alive. You know? Oh, that's not good. Joel, would you mind running?
Find him before he gets away. Check out this area. You got it.
The heck?
It's 5:30 p.m. on April 28th. I just finished speaking with... more like yelling at our head surgeon. Apparently there's no way to extricate the parasite without eliminating the host. Fancy way of saying we gotta kill the fucking kid. And now they're asking for my go-ahead. The tests just keep getting harder and harder, don't they? I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. And I just want this to end. So be it.
Dang. Am I going to stream after this? I'm not sure. I posted a poll asking you guys if you want God of War or Sackboy: A Big Adventure next. And they've actually were really close together. So, I'm not sure.
April 28th. Marlene was right. The girl's infection is like nothing I've ever seen. The cause of her immunity is uncertain. As we've seen in all past cases, the antigenic titers of the patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid.
Which God of War the first
Blood
one?
cultures taken from the patient rapidly grow cordyceps and fungal media in the lab. However, white blood cell lines, including percentages and absolute counts, are completely normal. There is no elevation of pro-inflammatory cytokines, and an MRI of the brain shows no evidence of fungal growth in the limbic regions, which would normally accompany the prodrome of aggression in infected patients. We must find a way to replicate this state under laboratory conditions. We're about to hit a milestone in human history equal to the discovery of penicillin. After years of wandering in circles, we're about to come home, make a difference, and bring the human race back into control of its own destiny. All of our sacrifices and the hundreds of men and women who've bled for this cause, or worse, will not be in vain.
Yeah, that's true. Try Star Wars? Maybe. Yeah, I don't think I can make one. Really doubt I can make one. Yeah, not enough binding. That how it be. Man, I should have never made this stupid thing. I never even used it. Ah. So dumb. I don't know what I just grabbed. But it definitely wasn't tape. Marlene's journal. March 15th. We finally crossed the Utah border. In a couple of days, we'll be back with the others. Today, the crew was in much better spirits. I've been worried about their morale since Greg and Tanya's passing last week. It's good to hear them laughing again. Robin came up to me and said, "Thanks for watching over us, Marlene." It was a small gesture, but I needed it. March 23rd. Ellie never made it. We arrived at the hospital and there was much celebration, at least from the others. I guess they're happy to see their old friends. We haven't seen some of the guys in over 10 years. After they told me the news, I couldn't eat. I couldn't talk to anyone. I should be grateful just to be alive, but right now, I just wanted to shut my eyes for a bit. March 24th. They look at me, and I know what they're thinking. That we're just a bunch of incompetent grunts. What was I supposed to do? I thought I was going to die. My men were being hunted by the entire Boston battalion? Battalion? Something like that. I had to get her out of the city. How was I supposed to know the Firefly escorts were already dead? God damn it, I panicked. In the end, I healed pretty damn quickly, and my men were more capable than I gave them credit for. More than a handful survived the army's attack. I should have kept her with me. Instead, I hand her off to a couple of smugglers. I failed you, Anna. I failed all of us. I'm an incompetent grunt. April 25th. I can't stand talking to any of them. I don't think I could take the stairs any longer. No way I could stay here. April 28th. One of our scouts just radioed in. He spotted an older man and young girl entering the tunnel by the bus terminal. He thinks she might have had red hair, but he's not sure. What if it's her? Stop doing this, Marlene. The recon squad is about to head out. I'm going to join them. April 28th. When you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. She's alive. They're running tests on her now. I can't tell if I'm excited, scared, or nervous. All I know is that my hands won't stop shaking. Brick, thank you. You did that. That brick is actually important, pretty sure. Maybe not. Oh. Good. An eye exam. Definitely needed it. Okay, here we go. R-U-N, run. You're nearly there. Don't quit. Exclamation point. You're nearly there, don't quit. Okay. See, the universe is giving me some good inspiration.
Yeah, that's it. I'm coming, Ellie.
Just in case. Hey, David, how's it going?
I should buy me some time.
Marlene's recorder number 2.
Hey, Anna. It's been a while since we spoke. I just gave the okay to proceed with the surgery. I really doubt I had much of a choice. Asking me was more of a formality. I need you to know that I've kept my promise all these years.
But she took care of her.
That I was in charge of, I looked after her. I would have done anything for her, and at times here's a chance to save us. All of us.
I think at times she was going to say that I felt that she was my own daughter, but if she were to say that, that would have like made her stop this decision. So she went back to her decision. She's like, no, we have to save everybody. Bling Blade.
I'm about to kill the one man in this facility that might understand the weight of this choice. Maybe
Yeah.
he can forgive me.
She doesn't want to kill Joel just because he understands.
Oh, I miss you, Anna. Your daughter will be with you soon.
Wow. Bryce, good news. I did it. I killed a hacker in Minecraft. Best part isn't Minecraft Hell. Nice. Awesome job, Fame Invade. Thanks for being here, by the way. How was Flaming Blade? I'm glad you did that. Also, you guys ready to save Ellie?
Sweet Jesus.
Doctor? What are you doing in here? I won't let you take her. This is our future. Think of all the lives we'll save.
Yeah, guys, think about all the lives we'll save. Well, we're going to save all the lives in the next episode. So to see that one, go ahead and... No, we're going to kill him right now.
No!
You just call him a nightmare? Oh, okay.
Fucking animal!
You change your name?
Harry, shut the hell up.
Well, Flaming Blade, I'll call you whatever your name is on YouTube. So if you want me to call you Nightmare, then just change your name to Nightmare. But I like Flaming Blade. That's pretty cool. Alright, should we kill these guys or should we let them go free? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Well, she's indestructible. Okay. Call you Flame. Okay. Kill. Alright. You know, once I was a surgeon, once I tried to save all of mankind, but then I took an arrow to the knee.
Please. I don't want to die. Oh, God.
What should we do with her? Kill her too? Aw, man. Lady. Look, I don't have to do this. It's more of an obligation just for the fans. I understand. I know you have a life and you have loved ones, but it's gonna be okay. You want a headshot? Alright. Lady. I'll let you have this headshot. The gun is already through your skull. But you're gonna die by headshot of fire to the face today. Where would you like it? Where would you like it? In the foot? In the hand? Well, since it's already through you, let's burn you from the inside out, right? I think that works. Okay, bye, lady. See, Joel's a humane person. Guys, you don't understand. We didn't need to kill them because we're friends with the clickers now.
Shit. I'm getting you out of here, girl. I got you. I got you.
He's carrying her the same way he carried Sarah at the beginning of the game.
Which way?
Calling her baby girl just like that. He won't lose his daughter again.
I said get back! Stop!
You can't save her. Even if you get her out of here, then what? How long before she's torn to pieces by a pack of clickers? That is, if she hasn't been raped and murdered first.
It ain't for you to decide.
It's what she'd want.
It's true.
And you know it. Look. You can still do the right thing here. She won't feel anything.
I like the encouragement, you guys. Looks like you guys made the right choice.
What the hell am I wearing?
Just take it easy. Drugs are still wearing off.
What happened?
We found the fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie. People that are immune. There's dozens, actually. Ain't done 'em a damn bit of good, neither. They've actually... They've stopped looking for a cure. I'm taking us home. I'm sorry.
He lied to her.
Wait! Let me go. Please.
You just come after her.
It's true. She would have.
Well, looks like we're walking. Should be a straight shot through here.
All right.
It's actually kind of pretty, ain't it?
Yeah.
All right. Now watch your head going through.
Here. I got it.
You guys tell that
Now.
Ellie's getting taller?
Don't think I ever told you, but Sarah and I used to take hikes like this. I think the two of you would have been We've been good friends. I think you really would have liked her. I know she'd have liked you.
I bet I would have.
Oh. Look down there.
That's where we're gonna live,
A
everybody.
little bit further now.
It's gonna be nice and safe, and we're gonna have no troubles forever.
There. I got you. All right, come on.
Hey, wait. Back in Boston? Back when I was bitten? I wasn't alone. My best friend was there. And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do. So,
Hi, Aiden.
she says, let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together. I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And you... No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay?
Joel had to lie to her. Are you playing today? I am playing today. We did, everybody. That was The Last of Us. So do you guys think Joel made the right decision? I mean, wasn't that the theme of the game? That it's not about the destination, that it's better for them to stay alive and just enjoy their lives regardless of everybody else. David, no, you don't think Joel made the right decision? Elmo, you wish it gave you an option to lie or not to? Yeah, but no, you don't. You don't. What was I playing today? The Last of Us. Joel lied at the end. Now, do you guys think that Ellie knows that he lied? Maybe. She might know. She's like, swear to me. And he just took a second, and then he's like, I swear. And then she, like, breathed heavily, and she looked down, and then she just nodded her head, and she said, like, okay. And so, the way that I take that is that Ellie can tell when Joel is lying because she's been able to do it earlier in the game, but she also trusts him now. And so I feel like she knows that he lied, but he did it for a good reason. And so she just accepted it. She just said, okay, I guess I don't need to know the reason. That's what I think. Are we going to play Minecraft today? Maybe. Maybe. But I think that was kind of the point of the game. That the time spent with people is more important than I don't know, I guess just like having the chance at everybody else living. You play Minecraft almost every day, nice. Because if they sacrificed Ellie, they're not even sure if they were able to get a cure. They just really wanted to. Or do you guys think they would be able to get a cure? What is the game about? Oh, Aiden, you gotta watch the whole playlist. There's a whole playlist on my channel of every single game we've ever played all the way through. We beat every single game that we play. And if there's a video on the channel that hasn't had us beaten the game yet, that means that episode just hasn't come out yet. Your dad used to have this game. What would you guys give this game out of 10? And I don't know. I feel like the right decision would be just ask Ellie if she wants to sacrifice herself. And she probably would have said yes. Elmo gives it a 9. I think this is the best game ever made. So I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. David says 8.2. I don't know, what do you guys think? For you, the best game ever made is Halo Reach. Okay. I didn't know Halo had much of a story. Yeah, I think this game won the most awards out of any video game ever. And the only game to ever surpass it was The Last of Us Part 2. It won more Game of the Year awards. Think Minecraft is the best game? That's a good competitor. Oh god, a big story? Halo is a big story? Okay. David also thinks Minecraft is the best game? Yeah, Minecraft's interesting. There's very, 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 very light, modest story within the lore. There is, I would say there is technically some kind of story to Minecraft, but it's very light. And it's just kind of like discovering what happened before you showed up. and it's just like a story of lore. True. I really like the music in this game too. The Last of Us. Oh man. And this is the credits for the PS4 remaster. And these are the credits for The Last of Us Left Behind because we didn't show it earlier in our playthrough. So I you know, I guess for The Last of Us Left Behind, I guess it would make sense to not kill yourself if you had the choice between living and turning infected, because at least for Ellie, it ended up that she didn't become infected, so I guess that was good. You'd lock yourself in a room with no escape. Yeah, that's true. I guess there was a lot of infected that did do that. I like this music too. And did you guys like the order that we played The Last of Us? Because we put Left Behind where it would make sense chronologically instead of playing it afterwards. Because then I feel like the ending to this episode is more impactful, where Joel lying to her is just the very end of the story, instead of that, and then you go back to play Left Behind. You know what I mean? Yeah. David, did you actually watch all the episodes all the way through? Or Elmo? Did you guys do that? I'm curious who watched this playthrough all the way through. They watched all the episodes. But yeah, after this game is Uncharted 4. You're going to the next couple days, Elmo? Alright, awesome. Awesome. David, you think you did? Okay. You could always go back and check. But those of you guys who don't know, we've been playing through every single Naughty Dog game in order. So we played through Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot 2, Crash 3, Crash Team Racing, Jak and Daxter, Jak 2, Jak 3, Jak X Combat Racing. We actually beat that one. That one was hard to sit through. And then it was fine. It was really hard. And then we had Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us, and then Uncharted 4, and then Uncharted Lost Legacy. Are you guys excited for us to play the next Last of Us game? Yep. Cool. Dope. Yeah. Sweet, sweet. Good music. Do you guys think it'd be cool to make a video game? If I got the chance to work at Naughty Dog, I would probably love it. And I live really close, so maybe I should apply. There we go. Alright, and then this is the making of The Last of Us. The following feature documents the creation of The Last of Us. For maximum enjoyment, complete the game before watching. Which we just did. So we're good.
Yeah, making the new IP is, how can I put it? It's just don't do it.
Just don't make new games.
It's insane. I mean, it's a very difficult process.
This is what it would be like to work at Naughty Dog.
And you have answers, especially when you come from like you've been making Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 2, just kind of like now like things are going, you just kind of like good momentum, and then suddenly that momentum like just drops, stops.
Grounded.
It's
the making of The Last of Us. Heck yeah.
To create a new IP, and you're gonna fail over and over again, but that's what it takes.
New IPs are really hard. They're hard because you don't know what's fun yet. You're building new tech, new AI, establishing new characters, new art, all this. You don't get that controller in your hand for like 6 months to a year.
You don't know. You don't know what it is yet. I remember like ages ago coming on the project and what are the infected going to do? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to behave like this. I'm like, okay. We're like trying to imagine what's going to happen. Fast forward like 4 months, they don't do that at all because it didn't work, right?
It's hard mode, right? Like it's game development on expert.
There's a big thing about making a game, right? Which is a game has to be fun. You get your first build where everything's working. You got player mechanics. You can walk around the world. You can shoot. You can melee attack people. You've got the AI in there. They're very intelligent, very difficult. And it's totally not fun because they snuck up behind you and murdered you in a second, and there was no way to figure out what was going on. We're making a game, by the way. Hey, James.
Yay. So it's really interesting that like you have to be very mindful of how the game might work before you even get a chance to play it. Speaking of which, actually there's nothing to do with this, but I'm gonna take 5 steps this way and throw in some chicken nuggets in the microwave.
Quite a bit since,
so
I think I was the
we'll eat food while watching this. So if you guys want to eat food too, you are totally more than welcome to.
Smaller studio roots.
I've been here for 16 years.
16 years.
There's no reason to leave. I just like the environment here. It's very non-corporate.
I would like
the
the
way
environment.
Dog is kind of special because we don't really like hierarchy or bureaucracy, and no one is really just a manager here.
Naughty Dog has a very flat structure. We pretty much all report to the co-presidents and the game directors.
I always tell people when we hire them, just like, my job is going to be able to trust you, and that's what I want. I want just to give you something and just you go with it, and I know it's going to get done.
We believe in iteration, we believe in collaboration, and we believe in the people making the game working directly with each other.
And we have designers and artists, animators, all mixed up. Anybody that's working on the same tasks, the same characters, the same areas, put them next to each other so they can communicate a lot better.
We don't have a lot of meetings because if you need something to get done, you just walk over and you talk, and then you go back to your desk and you finish it up.
And I really like that. I like when I just walk in the office and I see just designers talking with the programmers or programmers over the animators and talking to them. I think that's when really the magic.
Elma's gonna go
Naughty
get
Dog
some more
really
hot
try to
wings.
cultivate a culture
Yes.
where anybody can criticize anybody else's work.
Can we encourage
But
people
I really want to
to,
work in a
be
place
blunt about it
that
and
they're
not try to
describing
sugarcoat it too
where
much,
you can just kind of
because,
walk
too
up to
long
anybody
to
and
nice
discuss and
sometimes.
collaborate.
It's not
Like
personal,
unplanned
it's
collaboration
how can we
is
make
why
it
Pixar is so successful. That's the environment that they decided to build as well.
Bullshit if we can, making sure that people are making decisions not based on ego, but what is going to benefit the game.
When you see that people trust your
And I love
opinion and that
the
they
people that
value
can
it, it's like it's such a
do
great
that.
feeling.
That,
you
like,
really feel like you're working as a team on a
it's not
project.
based on ego.
Want to,
They're just trying to make a
remember
good
where we
game.
came from and
I feel like a lot of people,
successful then and try
whenever you try to criticize their work
make games.
to make it better, they're like, no, it's awesome, and you don't know what you're talking about. And it's like,
Back when
no,
Uncharted 2 wrapped up
you
and
can't
we
have
decided that
such
we were
ego.
going to, build
You
a
gotta
second
be
team
open
and
to
create a new project. We
having somebody tell
found a
you
lot of
that your
ideas.
game can be
One of
better
the
or your
very
project can be
earliest
better
ideas
if you
was to
just
go
listen.
back to Jack and Daxter. It's really near and dear to us. We really love those characters in that universe, and we think that, you know, there are some interesting stories still to be told there. We started to realize that it was not going to do justice to the franchise that the
It's also the first
fans
time I'm
had
watching
fallen in
this.
love with. It would be shifting it so far in a new
Have
direction
already playing Jack and
that,
Daxter
we
now,
felt that
all of
that
them.
effort would be more justified in developing a new IP.
So
Neil and
I can now
Bruce
see
came to
why
Christoph and I
people
and
are
said,
like,
"Well,
oh
let's
yes,
do
Jack and Daxter is the greatest thing. I mean, it's pretty darn good.
core essence of
Not
what we
gonna,
wanted
not
to
gonna
do
say
there
Jack and
was
Daxter is not
try
good.
to tell a story about two people and how their relationship evolves over the course of the entire game.
That potential. Oh wow, there is something very special about that game. That this is going to be polished. Like you're not sure if it's gonna work or not, and you have doubts. And like, should we be doing a game like that? Should we be doing a first-person shooter? Whatever. Like you ask yourselves all those questions.
And you know,
It said no one else is in the stream. Yeah, that's never true. That number that says how many people are watching, we have discovered for sure that number is almost never correct. So it doesn't matter. And even if you're the only one that's watching the stream, it doesn't matter. There's going to be more people showing up anyways, so it doesn't matter.
With just the gameplay as well, and so it's kind of like those guys are just trying always.
Also, I got
find the right
McDonald's
balance.
regular nuggets and
It's,
McDonald's
it's a
spicy
very, dedicated
chicken nuggets.
process.
We feel that the interactive medium has an untapped potential to touch the feelings of the player. You have that.
I think so
connectivity, the
too.
fact that I'm actually
And
in
I think The Last of Us is really just the beginning of what's possible with
on the
games.
screen in front of me.
Like, games are
It's
so
some sort of
new
advantage to make you feel connected with what's actually
that
happening. At Naughty Dog, that's what we're trying to do is pair
it's so
story and
interesting
gameplay together.
what games are going
Make
to turn
you
into in the
feel
future.
Like you're actually.
Oh, lucky? It's
with
not
these
lucky. I
characters
bought
on
these.
that journey, and you're invested in those stories and those characters. Then you're
spent
feeling
money.
in theory, the same thing that they're feeling.
I'm
As
trying the
story
spicy
evolved
ones
and took
first.
different shapes and different forms. The thing that was always
With sweet and
there
sour sauce.
was Joel and Ellie, and because of that, everything kind of grew out of that relationship.
And they're pretty darn good.
We've seen kind of that role of the anti-hero change.
Troy Baker!
over the last
He
3 to 5
voices
years.
so many
He
characters
forms
in
into a
games.
thick-neck mercenary kind of guy.
Oh yeah, he's also in
This
Uncharted
came
4.
specifically for this story
He
to be
plays
something
Sam.
new.
You guys recognize his voice? You guys believe that Joel and Sam are the exact same voice?
The reason we didn't want to make Ellie Joel's daughter from the get-go is because it wouldn't have anywhere to go. Of course, at that point, he'd be willing to do anything for his daughter because that is what a dad would do for his daughter. They didn't even know each other at the beginning of the story. And we start from scratch. It's almost like the player has the same relationship to Ellie as Joel does. And we could take our time to build that relationship between these characters. And if we do it right, then the player will be feeling that same growth that Joel does. And we're kind of mirroring that emotional relationship between the two.
What are you doing?
Killing time.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
I am sure you will figure that out.
Your watch is broken.
It's exciting that Neil
wrote something like this, where he's like, I don't.
I
wanna
love
make
Ashley
stereotypical
Johnson's voice so
characters. I want
much.
to make real people in this crazy situation.
She also seems like a really cool person.
Forced to make
I'd love to meet her one day.
decisions that are really tough. Like, what would we be like in those situations?
I mean, we weren't consciously trying to pick male or female for characters. You just try to pick characters and just be honest with who they are.
I also feel like it'd be
Most
really
doesn't
cool if she
matter,
like
right?
got to
Joel's
direct
daughter
something.
became Joel's son.
I'd like to see what
Joel
Ashley Johnson is can
might
come
have
up with
tested
like
against
creatively.
those roles, and I think the story would have still worked.
The focus on female strength, it's so unique. You get to see what's so powerful about a woman through all of these female characters.
You guys imagine the character of
which
Ellie
makes this
making a
game
movie
wonderful
or a
and
game or
unique.
something?
There's a crew of fireflies that'll meet you at the Capitol building.
That's not exactly close.
You're capable. You hand her off, come back, the weapons are yours. Double what Robert sold me.
Speaking of which, where are they?
Back in our camp.
We're not smuggling shit until I see them.
I want Joel to watch over her.
Whoa, I don't think that's
Bullshit,
the
I'm not
best
Ellie.
idea.
with him.
How do you know them?
I do think having a strong female character, especially like Ellie, is
You'd play
so
a game if
important
Ashley
in
Johnson made it?
and
I would
as
too.
a gamer, and more specifically a female gamer, it's
Ashley,
frustrating to me because
whatever you
I'll
make,
see sort of the
we'll play it.
stereotypical female character where she's amazingly beautiful and huge boobs, and she's there to be either the love interest or just because they're like, well, we need to throw a chick in here.
We've seen the strong woman or we've seen the weak woman. We haven't necessarily seen the empowered woman from this kind of standpoint. And there's that beautiful scene where Joel finds her inside the house and she's reading through this girl's journal going, is this really what they used to worry about? What shirt do I wear and what boy am I going to go out with? You know, and to be met
I remember
with those
seeing that
first-world problems that we
cutscene
deal with every
in the
day.
game for the first time, and I was totally crying.
I think it's going to resonate a lot, not just with, you know, a female audience, but with a male audience.
Just letting you guys
The
know,
thing that was intriguing to me after the fact,
I would have
knowing
never
that
played video games again
creating a female
if it
action
wasn't for The
hero,
Last of
this
Us.
is her origin story with Ellie.
To sort of be such a strong female character that
The Last of Us was so
completely
good
normal-looking, regular t-shirt
that it made me start
and she's
getting into the
14
game industry
and
again. It made me
she's
start paying
still a total
attention.
Badass is really exciting to be a part of that.
There's so few
Same? Oh, nice.
sexualized women in video games, especially in the main role, that we were kind of proud that we were creating one. It's very complex, and without the players knowing it,
It was this
she
game that
becomes
made me
the
realize,
personality of the
oh,
story. And that's why
games
she's
can be better than
that's why
movies.
We've been promoting the two of them together so much.
It is a dual protagonist.
And games are
and
the future of entertainment and
I
storytelling.
get nervous to think about it in that way.
Right now, they're like battling movies for
We can talk about it.
what's
In
the
fact, in
most
interviews we've been lying
entertaining
about
slash
it. We've never
accessible.
played Ellie because
And games have gotten more and more and more accessible.
Sorry, journalists.
Here we go.
Especially The Last of Us Part 2 is literally the most accessible game like ever made.
Sorry. Hold on. That's it.
The tone of the game was set pretty early on that we knew that we wanted to make a really grounded story. We knew that we wanted to make the player feel the sense of tension and dread and go through the same emotional roller coaster that Joel and Ellie were going through.
One of the things we kind of struggled with is to say, well, if we want to really ground this world and make it so like realistic, maybe we shouldn't have anything that can be perceived as a monster. Maybe like by just having an infection that just killed people, and it's all about humans and how they deal with this post-apocalyptic society and how different people decide to survive. Maybe that would be enough. And what we realized,
Like basically
because we're
COVID.
making an action game, a lot of the storytelling happens on the joystick. And once we remove the infected, it's like all of a sudden now we can't tell the story through gameplay of what happened to the world. And that's where we kind of went back and kind of brought the infected back in, because it lets you see, once you're fighting them, the threat that people had to deal with, that otherwise would just be very cerebral and people could talk about it, but you couldn't necessarily experience it yourself. In a novel, that might
So they were
work. In a game for us,
essentially thinking of writing a story of what
And
would
from
have
there, when
happened
we
if
start coming
COVID
on
were to
those
happen,
ideas, we're just like,
basically.
what would be cool just to
But then they're like,
The early inception
but
for it
COVID
was
isn't fun to
from
play,
BBC
so
video we saw
we
called
have
Planet
to
Earth, where they were
make them
talking about
infected.
a cordyceps fungus.
This cordyceps fungus gets inside of the brain and controls these ants, and mandibles start chomping, they grow up to higher areas, cordyceps fungus sprouts out, and then it germinates.
And essentially uses them to spread its infection and take over whole colonies, sometimes wiping them out. As soon as we saw it, we were intrigued by the idea of what if it jumped to humans?
I finished all my spicy ones.
What would
They're
happen?
pretty
How
spicy.
People react. What would happen to society?
I'll give McDonald's spicy chicken nuggets
As we're
with
trying
sweet
to
and sour
develop
sauce.
the look of the infected, we went through so many different iterations. Some that looked
Probably
really
like,
alien and subhuman.
8 out of 10. It's pretty darn good.
Some that looked just essentially like zombies, and we couldn't find like an original place for them. But one of our artists just did this kind of photo mashup where he took a bunch of images of diseases or images of fungal overgrowth, and he kind of mashed it all together and he threw it on this person.
It was a very iterative process, making sure that the fungus felt properly integrated, like it was part of the body, growing out of the body.
And not just fungus growing on the head, but it's tearing the face apart, cleft down the middle, this gaping maw of a mouth with the crooked teeth.
And it's in great agony as its humanity and its brain is still somewhat functioning. Maybe you still have some human cognitive abilities or the thought process back here.
This isn't some decaying corpse on the ground. This is a living thing that's going to be coming after you in the world.
The fungus is always the focal point. So you can see from a distance, oh, this guy's infected. I can tell straight away.
In fungus, they have these beautiful saturated colors, and we really like that conscious of this something so horrific that it's going to like stop at nothing. It's relentless force of death, and yet elements of it are beautiful. It's not just about gore. It's not just about everything about.
Yeah, I
being
think that's
scary.
really
It's
interesting.
us. It's actually scarier when things on it are somewhat benign or somewhat beautiful.
It was evident that we were onto something that
True.
was quite a bit different and something that we hadn't really seen before, which was eerily human but very disturbing.
And it seemed so creepy and so unique that right away we gravitated towards it, and it's like, this is our base infected. Everything should kind of come out of this look. So once we had this idea of the face-splitting kind of look that eventually became what we called the clicker stage.
We went to great lengths to create a full biological cycle for these things.
So in the early stages, you don't actually see too many signs of the fungus surfacing out of the skin. It's kind of underneath it, like people have lumps starting to show. The eyes will be kind of cloudy or lopsided because the fungus kind of originates inside the head.
That moves into the next phase, which is the clicking phase.
And if they mess with the eyes, we understand how to get around. Echolocation.
And
Ew.
they use a form of echolocation to track down their enemies.
Just like bats, or even some blind people can see by making a clicking sound, a sound that on its own wouldn't be very scary.
I had no idea some
associated
blind
with
people can
something
see
that
by making a
people
clicking
in
sound.
this
It's
war
crazy.
are very fearful of, so that as you're exploring an environment, all of a sudden you hear this click, and you're seeing everybody just get frightened, just everybody duck, everybody hushes.
Great.
The bloater is the most severe of the stages. So large pieces of the body has been replaced by these kind of fungal plates.
The fungus completely takes over the body and blooms.
They're kind of covered in things that have been growing on them. Things like moss and like little...
Also, I know a lot of
kind of
the games that I've been playing, we've been playing on its hardest difficulty, and The Last of Us was no exception.
When an infected
But
feels like it's going to die, it finds like a dark...
all the other games I've been playing on its hardest difficulty, I've been having a really hard time with.
And then the body...
But The Last of Us, we just blew right past it. And I know some of you guys might be surprised by that, but I've actually played The Last of Us on its hardest difficulty like 3 or 4 times.
And that's hopefully how we've created.
Actually, maybe 5 times.
Kind of look through it and
so I'm
understand the
very
science
familiar with
and
how to
say,
beat this game
I could buy this. I could
on Grounded. So this is the only game that I actually would probably have an easy time getting through on its hardest difficulty. I can imagine that The Last of Us Part 2 will kick my butt on this difficulty. Absolutely kick my butt.
Quarantine zone. See, some places got a heads up before the infection showed up. Most didn't.
Over the course of Joel and Ellie's journey through this game across America,
You find all these different societies, all these different enclaves, and you get to see how do they deal with the infected.
without the manifestation of this infection, you can't have these people making those interesting choices.
The world we decided was actually its own character, really grounded with a lot of texture. What happens, after 20 years of the fall of man, when no one's taking care of anything?
This book called The World Without Us describes in detail how much fighting on a day-to-day basis we have to do to keep nature back. And once you stop doing that, how quickly nature can reclaim that. They talk about New York and how every day they pump water out of the subway system. That system breaks down within 2 days, the whole city is flooded.
I didn't know that
Once
until
water
he
gets
mentioned it.
introduced, then structures collapse pretty quickly. Trees will sprout, and wind will carry those seeds over, and gutters get clogged, and then when it rains, water fills up, and then pretty soon you have vegetation growing over there, and once you have vegetation, concrete breaks pretty easily for when there's a tree and roots breaking through that. Even some of the stuff we did on Uncharted, exploration of how temples were ruined, what if you took those ideas and put them in Pittsburgh or Boston?
And obviously right when that happened...
Do you guys believe if they just
terrible to look
turned
at,
off
but
the
you think about
pumping
20 years
system in
later,
New York,
and with
like the
rainwater
whole
filling
city
up
would
those
just shut
sinkholes,
down,
those
like
become
immediately
like
be
little
flooded?
marshes with lily pads in 'em.
Crazy.
We had this wonderful piece of concept art we developed really early on, and there are all of these wild animals that have escaped from a zoo, and over the past 20 years have bred, and now they have herds roaming these cities. And that's something that tells you that life goes on, and this world is worth saving.
Also, I just realized the footage that is in this documentary is of the PS3 version. Or sometimes it's early builds of
We have another level
the original
of
version.
OCD of the logic goes into some of these environments. Water damage seeps into them, that creates some little moss growing on the floor, or a tree radiates energy from its base, and that over time starts to melt the snow around it. And that's the reason why you'd see those like rings of leaves showing through in the snow. That gives it that extra, believability. This is pitch art.
Believability.
I'll try to start with an idea that conveys.
It's not about what's
feel
real.
of the environment.
Excuse
Something
me, it's
like
not
this,
about what's
very
real, it's about what's
very
believable.
linearly. You can see not a lot of detail, just energy and conveying a mood. This is sort of just a conversation starter, and then this would be more of an actual space. So you start talking about, is this too tight of a space right here? Would the player even fit through there? Do we even want to include water? Those are conversations you start having a little bit later. And then it usually needs several more passes back and forth in order to be tightened up to be the experience that you would see in the final product. So, dude, I was actually trying to figure out right here, there should probably be some dead foliage.
It might be cool to see some of the dead stuff around the edges of the green, or like even spilling out into the street.
Maybe what we do is, in some of these areas, we use it as like a transition from the actual concrete to the side of the building, so like they're almost sitting on top of
I do really like that a lot of the
foliage,
environments
like
and
that
the
really
notes
rich, kind of like orangey brown
all just kind
color.
of told a story of what has happened.
Something real cheddary.
And it's all just stuff you could have just like ran by.
Often ends up being stronger because that bouncing
It was
back
like
off
optional
somebody else
story.
gives you a result that maybe you wouldn't have even thought of in the first place.
All right. Here's the bridge. That's our way out of here.
As far as concept art goes, definitely the ultimate goal is just helping everybody as much as possible.
Me and the background artist will work together. I'll often just go to them because they've got like a really, really good like visual imagination. At some point, you came in almost like flat on, so that's kind of good because the bus station is right in your peripheral view, and you're probably going to enter the bus station. You're probably not going to get lost, but it doesn't at all utilize this cool architecture here, like the bus station sign. Like that's a really distinctive silhouette, and it's a really interesting sort of architectural detail. So we changed the entrance.
Look at that. Another city, another abandoned quarantine zone.
I think it's a better composition anyway. It's not so like symmetrical. And I think that was done so that this sign read better. If you didn't see the word bus on it, you might not know it's a bus station. So I think that helps.
Everything we're doing in
That's
the
true.
environments is
I like that
relaying
intentionality.
back to what you should be feeling in the story or what's happening to these characters.
So is that everything you hoped for?
So there's the
Jury's
line.
still out. But man, can't deny that view.
Come on, this way.
And then he asks her at the end of the game,
When
is
we
this
first
everything
came
you were
up
hoping
with
for?
Ellie and Joel, we had
And she
this
says,
idea in our heads
it's got its
of
ups and
who
downs,
they would
but
we
you
didn't
can't deny that
necessarily
view.
know the voice.
It took us a while to find our Joel, but for Ellie, I think Ashley was the second or third candidate to walk in, and right away we knew.
Yeah, you know
Why
what?
are you so scared all of a sudden?
Because I'm a coward, okay? So just get your shit. Let's get out of here.
Damn it. I'm not like her, you know.
What?
You think I'm gonna end up like your daughter?
The way she delivered the lines, the way she just embodied
she's
that
so good.
character, it was like, that's Ellie, there's no question about it.
I saw the character artwork and I related to her a lot. I mean, she's kind of a tomboy and she's kind of tough, and I mean, obviously I'm not 14, and I think that's the main difference between the two of us. I read the scenes and I was like, I need to play this part.
You wanna be my hero? Forget the whole bit about saving my life. Buy me a stack of these bad boys instead.
Where'd you get that?
Back your bills. I mean, all this stuff was just lying around.
And then once we had her, we said, okay, well, we're going to do another round, and we're going to have Ashley this time in the casting sessions. The chemistry of these two characters was imperative to get right.
Troy was a really interesting casting for Joel because when you see Troy, he doesn't look like Joel at all.
You know, he's so handsome and he had like, you know, the frosty hair and totally looked like Final Fantasy. And so
I'm like, yeah, I don't know. He's like this tall, pretty. It didn't seem right.
I walked into the room fully aware that I was the youngest person that they were seeing for this role. There was a line that was in the audition side that says that Joel has few moral lines left to cross. And so that became the anchor point to the character.
But then as soon as he spoke, and he had the grit in his voice,
Warm,
Ellie.
kind of dangerous.
And his movement is just like you bought into it.
Why are you so scared all of a sudden?
Because I'm a big coward, okay? Now pack up your shit and let's go.
Damn it. I'm not her, you know.
What?
You think I'm gonna end up like your daughter?
Lily, you are treading on some very thin ice right now.
It was Ellie and Joel.
after he read, it was just
Nice.
like that was it.
I've done some video games in the past, but to be handed the mantle of a franchise like this was a pretty big honor.
Is she alive?
She's alive. She's David's newest pet.
Where?
In the town. She's in the town.
Nolan North.
You mark it on the map. It better be the same exact spot your buddy points to.
That's Nathan Drake.
And he said, I have some ideas. And as you're well aware, Neil is a little twisted. He came up with this character, and I just jumped at it. It was such a departure from everything I've done here for Naughty Dog, to say the least.
Name's David. This here's my friend James. We're from a larger group. Women, children. We're all very, very hungry.
To be able to put on a voice that, hopefully a lot of people won't know, won't notice that it's even me. Because we didn't want it to be Drake. Drake eating people, that's a whole nother game.
How did you put it? Tiny pieces. See you tomorrow, Ellie.
Do you guys believe Nolan North
Certain voices that I could
was
do
David?
wouldn't fit the David's artwork, but he showed me the art.
It was the actor for Nathan Drake the whole time in Uncharted.
Where everything's, it's very quiet. And just, he's not really sure and the voice can break a little.
And he just looked and goes, yeah, that's it. So I'd love to tell you we hashed it over and we talked. No, it just, I looked at the picture and I tried something. He said, yeah.
A few weeks back, I sent a group of men out to a nearby town to look for food. Only a few came back. And turns out that the others had been slaughtered by a crazy man. And get this, he was with a little girl. You see, everything happens for a reason.
Ashley, she brought humor to it.
She just has some really great comedic timing. The way she reacts to the things around the world with a little bit of sarcasm, that teen kind of like trying to get a rise out of you.
Now watch your step as you're going out, because it's going to be a little...
It just brought a certain levity to the story that the story needed. You didn't even realize it needed it until she started doing some of that stuff.
Oh, I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Hold
Just...
your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude. Throughout the course of shooting over these past couple of years, Ellie and I have kind of morphed into each other, which I know sounds so cheesy. Neil always asks, he's like, well, what would you do in this situation?
I think the most important thing that Ashley brought is a sense of capability to Ellie's character that wasn't there in the beginning.
The very first thing we shot involved her being pulled out of a car and attacked, and Joel is supposed to go save her.
It was written that Ellie sort of was just kind of watching on the side, just waiting till he was done, and I was a little frustrated because I was like, well, if this were real life, I would do something.
We did a couple takes, and at some point she walked up to me and she said, I feel like I'd hit him.
So we added in a part, like, right there off the bat, she's not just this damsel in distress. Right there, she wanted to fight back from her very first day of shooting.
We didn't have it right initially. She needs to be more capable than initially we thought she would be, and actually that made us go back and rethink combat and rethink a lot of the areas in the game. Now she was going to take a much more active part.
It's really interesting that they thought of the whole game without Ellie being active.
Anything
really
that
interesting.
requires, a lot of body movement, we do with the actors on the mocap stage. And we try as much as possible to use our actual principal actors, use their body motion as well as their voice. We capture it all at once there on the stage.
Having the actors perform as well as being recorded at the same time was imperative to get an accurate performance. Because every time you split up the performance in any way, you lose some of that magic where they
that makes sense.
gestured or they deliver the line a certain way. And those things have to be in sync, or there's just something subconscious that's like off-putting about the performance when you don't do it that way.
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel, but I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
It gives you the most authentic, most realistic performance, because you're actually there, not just making your own choices, but making your own choices based on the other people that are involved in that scene. So you get this truly natural approach to things, and it shows up.
It's like theater in the round. You can do anything from any angle, and the smallest, most subtle thing we'll be able to pick up.
There's no place to hide. So you have to be as prepared as possible, because you have no idea which moments they're going to use. There are these little improv moments and, little nuances that you get that probably isn't scripted, that just comes out of play, while they're performing. That mistake that is just blossomed into a really good idea.
Did we improv on The Last of Us? Yes. Yes, we did.
Doing this was a whole lot like being 5 playing in the backyard with a stick, and this is my machine gun, and and a pine cone is my hand grenade. It's all in your imagination. I'm doing the exact same shit that I did 45 years ago. I just get paid for it now.
It's fun.
Square.
We're square.
And get the fuck out of my town.
I don't do a lot of voiceover work, so for me it was nice to be able to work off of your other actors. I can't imagine it working any other way.
I'd never done mocap before. I didn't know what to expect. The suits were crazy.
Yeah, the suit gave me
I heard that
deep way. I had
the
to
one that plays
put out my middle
Marlene
finger.
is actually playing
Too much
Marlene in the actual TV show.
How damn sexy I look in a motion capture suit. I look like 10-pound of sausage in a 5-pound casing in that thing, man.
Once you get past the fact that like everybody else and you look like weird clown people with these little dots and stuff, once you like give over to that, it really was pretty easy to make it just feel like you're in the moment and in the scene.
Everyone that was on this is a slam dunk. This isn't just another gig to them, and that creates a really cool energy for people to really start experimenting and playing jazz.
Floor is yours.
Playing jazz is in just making up stuff as they go. See how it turns out.
Hey!
Oh, let her go.
Don't worry, this is fixable. But I can't come with you.
Well, then I'm staying.
Ellie, I want Joel to watch over her.
Oh, no, no, no.
Bullshit, I am not
Ellie.
going with
She's
him.
going to.
I could just take her to the North Tunnel and wait for me there.
Jesus Christ.
Just cargo, Joel.
How do you know them?
You know, we craft the scene out until it has a good feel, and then we pass it off to animation to clean it up.
Real life motions don't necessarily always translate into gameplay.
There's something that's usually missing, so we have to, maybe enhance the gesture or enhance the shoulder movements or a breath that you want to be able to feel, but you don't really see it, so you can't really feel it unless you see it.
So I think it's really cool that there's an animation team as well.
Is everything all right?
The motion capture is just a guide.
Everything's fine.
And does the initial
Have him
movement.
lean in here a little bit more.
The animators
This, take his hand down.
want
When they're
to
on stage, they don't
make it
necessarily have
exaggerated,
windows.
so that way you
So
really
that
can pay
weight
attention to what the actor did in the moment.
pushing and leaning in
Or maybe the
is
actor
something
didn't
that
convey something that they want to.
give him a little bit more weight on that turn, or put his head down a little bit more.
There's a lot of dialogue that gets said between the two characters. We have to bring that alive through animation, and we have what we're using as gestures.
Why would they mow down all these people?
Can't let everyone in.
If you turned off the sound, you'd know that they were talking to each other. And that really helps accentuate the relationship that the two have together. We have certain animations that play in the beginning of the game on Ellie. She's traveling with Joel, who she doesn't really know. There's a lot of gestures to make her look nervous, just her overall stance. Later on in the game, they develop a relationship through the animation, not just the dialogue. You can see that she's more comfortable around him. If that reads well with the player, then, we're doing our job. We want her to look scared when she gets a gun. We want her to look scared of the gun.
See, if she's gonna aim, she wouldn't be like super trained aim. She would be more like some scared. But at the same time, it needs to look cool and feel cool to the player that plays.
It's really just these little tiny details that we're doing, and it's coming across. It's working out well.
We don't do facial capture. We don't track eye movements on stage. It's just the motion capture data. Everything that you see on the faces is hand keyed. As you can see, this is all of her mocap data. And so when I'm doing something like this, I go back and forth to the performance that she was giving, and I watch just this section over and over and over again. So this is our default face, where I can make everything super extreme and make her all squinty and angry, turn her frown down. I can open her mouth, stick her tongue out. It's listen, watch. Okay, where's her mouth at this point? Like, is it open? Is she making like a grimace?
About Tess. I don't even know.
Here's how this thing's gonna play out. You don't bring up Tess. Ever. In fact, we just keep our histories to ourselves.
We shoot all of it to just get the body motion, and then we'll do a second pass.
Troy Baker's really good.
Cameras.
The scene's playing back on an overhead projector, but it's also playing back on a monitor that's attached to my rig.
Sean and I would go to the stage and motion capture the camera filming the scene, and so he would get a whole wide shot, a whole close-up for the whole scene.
You can change your lenses, you can use your standard 35, 85, 50s, whatever, all that sort of live action camera cinematography, you can apply it on stage.
We make sure to go back in and add flaws.
We keep the confinements of the room, so the camera can't go past a certain wall, because then we have this cheated perspective. If the cameraman bumps into the wall, we keep it You know, missing focus hits when you're pulling focus, going too close to a character and reframing, those little moments in there kind of keeps it very cinema verite.
If everything was too perfect, you wouldn't be able to put your finger on it, but you'd be able to feel it. It would just feel off.
It's very
Makes
much
sense.
about grounding it, despite having, you know, the option to do whatever we want.
Being able to place the cameras anywhere we want after the motion capture gives us both advantages and disadvantages. The biggest advantage is it means that we just have to nail the best performances we can get, and the luxury is that we can always swap it.
The 3D world gives you limitless opportunities with cameras and movements, exposures, all that stuff.
Most of these cameras are sort of set up like real world cameras. So we have lens, we have f-stop that will create the depth of field. We have aperture to, you know, set our film back and all that stuff. A master, and then I have my close-ups, my over the shoulders, sort of just like a live action production. Let's go to camera 30 at the 23.458. Then I get that kind of weird, you know, bend across his back. The closer I bring the camera, the more bend I get, which is, you know, doesn't look right. It doesn't look as, it looks less cinematic than if I
Makes
do that,
sense.
which flattens the whole thing. And I'm trying to also catch Ellie. Like if you scrub a little more, you know, catch her in the back here. So I want a longer lens in back here.
Since I've only had experience working with live action before I got into video games, it was a kind of a cool adjustment to be able to have this extra flexibility in post, to swap a line of dialogue for something different, even though that's not what the actor said at that time, and to be able to still have a close-up on them while they said it. You get to make it probably more perfect than you could ever make it in live action.
Yeah, that's why I like animation.
As far as it needs to go. Where was this lab of theirs?
Because our actors are both the voice and their body, they get to play, they get to try things, they get to work with our director to kind of come up with new ideas, or even our director will have a new idea on the spot that wasn't there in the script, but realizing when he sees it, oh, well, this would actually be better, this might feel better, and those changes all just happen organically there on the set.
He could even lead straight into his thing. It's like, no shit, yep, Ty, we wanted to do that, so we rented 2 Harleys and drove cross country.
Keep it pretty succinct, like we got the bikes, rode them cross country. Cool.
It's shocking to me that this is Neil's first time directing.
There was a specific tone and a specific
Really?
Approach that Neil and Bruce
Yeah, he's
wanted
good.
to take with this. It just came down to there's nobody who knows the story better than you, and then there's nobody that knows these characters better than you. Why don't you just do this?
He and I actually had a conversation about it. He says, I think I'm going to try this myself, and I'm not sure. Neil was fantastic.
The floor is yours.
Okay, so remember, you've been running away from this turret-mounted truck. If you come to this dead end, you're going to look up and see...
I think he's like leader of Naughty Dog now or something.
Action.
Check it out.
I mean, his writing is honest, and it's dangerous, and it's natural.
And I love his economy of words. He doesn't hit everything on the nose, so it leaves it open for you to interpret and bring some nuances and things like that.
The entire process is collaborative, but really it's led by Neil's willingness to change and flow and decide something doesn't work, you know, fix it right there in the moment. And it is something that's very foreign to the way that TV and film is done now, where everything has been micromanaged by the time you get it to the table read, and no one wants you to change anything, and everything's very precious and has been rewritten with notes from 20 people in suits, and you can't do that just anywhere in entertainment these days.
Interesting.
Yeah, I want to make sure. I think I swung too far over to this way, and now it's a little bit of making jokes about it. And I need to bring it back to center. There's one scene in the game where we see Joel not as a ruthless survivor, but as a father. I knew from the very beginning that he was going to lose his daughter, and I just told Neil, I was like, when that day comes for us to shoot that, I need a heads up. About a week before, he said, it's time, we're going to do that scene. I was like, okay, because I knew that I was going to have to go to this place that you don't really want to go to as an actor. You want to find some aspect of reality that you can empathetically draw from, you know?
Troy and I were both kind of just like walking around for a while and just kind of getting into the zone, and well, my grandpa died when I was 8. He was like my dad, and so that's always what I use to get into that place.
You know, I started recalling all those memories and starting pulling up all those feelings, and they're just right underneath the surface. When I walked back in, everyone realized that something was different. They kind of like calmed down, you know.
You could feel the energy just like drop a little bit more.
It was brutal.
I lose my shit. I mean, just completely break down.
Don't do this, please, God, no. Oh, God, no.
The soundstage was deathly still.
It was the first take, and I felt really good about it. And it's like Neil said, okay, let's do it again. So you do it again, and automatically you feel like you're manufacturing because you're trying to go back to that place, and you know you're in that actor nightmare of trying to get back to that reality. And we go through it again in fifth and sixth and seventh take, and I'm just exhausted. I'm crying between takes, and I'm looking at Neil going, "This is really, really hard." And finally, after like the eighth or ninth take, he said, "All right, I think we got it." I was like, "Oh, thank God." And I went outside, and I was just jacked up for the rest of the day. Just I mean, a wreck emotionally. But we got it. Then 2 weeks later, he calls me. And he says, so we need to reshoot a scene. I'm like, cool, what scene are we doing? And he just looks at me. I said, dude, don't do this to me.
And you can either at that moment throw your hands up in the air and say, fuck this, and walk away. Or you can say, okay, this is an opportunity to get it more right.
I'm like, okay, all right. If you don't think you got it, I'm going to show you that you got it. We've got it in the can. And so we go through it again, and it just feels fake, feels artificial. And Neil goes, go through it again. We start doing it again, and I'm getting madder and madder with each take. And finally, about the fourth take, Neil comes over to me, and I love him so much. He goes, so I'm picking up on some resistance. I was like, you're damn right you're picking up on some resistance. We've got this in the can already, and we're just wasting our time, and we're wasting all this effort and energy. And then he started talking me through the scene. And he was like, what I need you to do is I need you to just strip yourself of all these ideas, and I need you to hit this beat, and this beat, and this beat, and this beat, which just makes it sound so mechanical, and it's such an emotional scene. So we start going through it, and literally I am mindlessly doing these things at this point.
It's okay. I know it hurts, baby. I know. So I'm gonna lift you up. I'm gonna lift you up. I'm gonna get you over here. Come on, baby. Come on, work with me, please. God, baby. Sarah. Sarah! Don't do this to me, baby. Don't do this to me, baby. Come on.
And he stops, he goes, now we got it. And I realized that the reason why I wanted that first take to work was because I wanted everyone to look at me and go, wow, what an actor. And that's not what the scene needed.
Those moments where you just have to sort of calm.
So you had all this ego and
just go back.
That's what kind of got in the way.
That scene actually works, not because of me, but in spite of me. And that really is the marker and definition of working with a truly good director.
There are many like it, but this one is yours. Why don't you have a seat?
Yay!
Thanks, guys.
The director's chair.
Working on the project, we knew we wanted to have a pretty minimalist soundtrack. And we had a folder where we just throw music in there. Looked at the folder one day and we saw, we have a lot of stuff here from Gustavo Santaolalla. We're looking for a composer. What if we reached out to him?
Oh, no. Sarah. Move your hands, baby. I know, baby, I know.
So I think it's interesting that
You'll be okay, baby. Stay with me.
they had a bunch of music that kind of fit what they were thinking, and then they found the composer afterwards.
Sarah. Baby.
has been and still is kind of like a road movie. I grew up in Argentina. I came to the United States in 1978 because we had a horrible political situation in Argentina. We had a military dictatorship where 30,000 people disappeared at the hands of the government, and many other more were tortured, and I was blacklisted. It was just impossible for me to keep on.
Isn't that crazy?
There. I've been in jailed many times since I was probably 15 years old.
Who's ever been to Argentina before?
Play an electric guitar. So I had to embark on this trip. I can relate to that kind of need of movement and going to the next place and the next place and the next step. I'm always attracted to the possibility of getting involved with a project from the very beginning. I like to work from the script and talking to the director.
It's never been, oh, give me a piece like this, or give me a music that's this. It's just been very high level. Here's what the story's about. Here are the themes. Go write some stuff.
Since I don't know how to really read or write music, the way I produce music is actually recording it. So I like to come early in the projects, and I did in The Last of Us.
Interesting.
One thing that was fantastic from the very, very beginning was the freedom I had to try and to do whatever I felt could work, you know?
As the story was still being written, you could listen to this piece of music and just get a sense of where this needs to go tonally, because the music was still inspiring the story. So that was the great thing of having the music written so far in advance.
You know, at the beginning, I mean, I was going really out with some things, and sometimes some of those things were the ones that they liked the most, you know? So I really felt very motivated to work, and I enjoyed immensely working.
It was this very organic back and forth experience where one element was inspiring the other and vice versa.
I needed to go into some more dark places, more textural and not necessarily melodic. I'm always trying to sort of push myself into playing instruments that I don't know how to play. There's an element of danger and innocence. Lennon once said, you know, give me a tuba and I will be able to do I'm an artist. I should be able to do something. I like to put myself in that situation. So these are just PVC pipes, the one used in construction.
So he kind of likes when he's given a challenge, something to work with.
Or instruments.
Artists find a way to
twist them. From the concept of
use
the
those
prepared
restrictions
piano, you know,
and get something creative out of it.
Prepare guitar to stick things into the guitar and things like that. And also in The Last of Us in particular, I work with the detuned guitars. I really tune the guitar extremely low, and the result is, you know, strings that are very loose and will produce not only sound but produce noise. Because I believe, you know, every environment has its own sound. We have in our, you know, small studio, we have actually the possibility to record almost anywhere, including the bathroom, and we have done some fabulous recording, especially in the kitchen. When you score to picture, which is something that I don't do, then you know what you're going to expect. But when you provide people with music, like I've done in all the films that I've done, and then you see it, how the director decided to use that, you know, in what particular way he uses it or where they edit it. It's always fascinating to me. I watch a scene and I'm going, you know, it's fantastic how they use this piece. I would have never, of all the music that I've done, probably I would have never used this piece there, but it works, you know, great. So I like that feeling of collaboration.
So he got involved really early, and then the music helped inspire the story. That's pretty interesting. You guys like the music in the game?
I do. I think, you know, the guys also that work in programming and adapting that music to the game, they should share a lot of the credit for the end result.
In the beginning, there was silence. Yes. Then they hired sound designers. Then they regretted that decision.
Hold it steady. Ha! Got you.
In a much quieter environment like that, we really had to fill out the soundscape with much more natural sounds, much more detailed, delicate sounds. The tension comes from the lack of sound, in a way.
Your brain is thrown off because we're expected to hear buses and crowds. All of a sudden I hear wind and leaves rustling. Again, it's creepy and beautiful at the same time because it's almost like I'm going on a hike, but I'm in a downtown area.
Get up over this truck.
To Neil, I mean, we were going through the iterations, so he just did not want, like, yells and screeches and what he called, like, you know, kind of witchy qualities, like cackling witch. He didn't want anything like that. It was a little bit of a head scratcher to figure out, okay, how do we make it sound human but not human? Yeah. We really did not want to use any animals. We wanted these all to be human. Derek and I basically decided to hire a couple of voice actors who did some interesting work vocally to see if they could come up with something. And we worked with this girl, Misty Lee.
She started giving us these really great screeches.
And that's no process.
Yeah, that's just her voice. And it started going into this little click. We also used a little bit of Phil's voice. We'd combine that also.
Those are good actors.
That's just me, you know, moving my tongue. And what that kind of did was it sort of grounded it all, like maybe in the mouth area, the wetness, all that kind of stuff. And it adds a nice texture, actually. So this is a composite of all the bits I just told you about.
Sounds like a Snapple bottle.
Oh, the lid?
Like the lid, yeah.
Hey, that's a good idea. Fuck, where were you guys like months ago? Why did we think of that? Why did we think of that? Stupid.
It would have sounded way different if they just had Snapple.
Probably wondering what this is. Let me tell you. About 10 years ago, I saw this Synthy A suitcase synth. I wanted to get one. This finally arrived in January, just in time to start using. I thought, well, what can I do with this? In Lakeside, there's a whiteout that happens, and this thing has a noise generator, which gives really convincing wind sound.
Interesting.
The military still has technology. There's sirens and alarms, so I wanted to try some new concepts.
What?
Nothing, it's just... I've never seen anything like this, that's all.
You mean the woods?
Yeah. Never walked in the woods. It's kind of cool.
We consciously take in consideration lighting in the beginning.
Most of the game, we don't really have any real man-made light sources, so everything is naturally lit.
In the past, you know, we could use a lot of artificial light, but in a world that has no electricity.
We have to hide most of the time, and that requires getting very close to certain assets.
Just stay back.
Otherwise, can't.
Detail's expensive, and if you build up too much of it, you end up running into technical problems, right? Your engine slows down.
When the frame rate goes down, everyone can bring up the
Oh,
profile
yeah.
windows and see which
So-
parts of the frame actually caused the drop of the frame rate.
They had to make all this on PS3, and so there was very limited resources, so they had to be very particular about every single little tiny bit that they put into it, so that way nothing would slow down the game.
Oh my god, why is this thing so big? We're taking 10 milliseconds on this thing. And then that's when they come over and find somebody and hit them over the head with a club and be like, why are you doing this? I love, we put the 30 frames per second goal because that's what we shoot for. Someone nicely put the 60 frames per second goal. It's like, yeah, we're not going to hit that.
Lighters usually can come up with different lighting setup that still looks great, but is less costly in terms of performance.
Did you talk to the character artist about her hand? So her face is getting a lot of
So
slack, but then
it wasn't.
her arm is just like
So back then, it wasn't just that they couldn't make the game look as detailed as they wanted to. It was that the technology literally couldn't handle it. Like if they were to make a brick way too detailed,
I've never
then
focused so much on lighting and how much
it would slow down the game because it couldn't render it in time, and then the game wouldn't be able to run at 30 frames per second. So.
I'd like wake up early and like take photos.
What I find really cool in game development is that they have to be very intentional about how they design certain things. How detailed can they get with it?
Lighting because I've never had to use it so much.
Man, this is kind of sad.
And they have to make it look good
All this
within the
music that's just
resources.
sitting here.
Be like, look how detailed this scene is.
Listen to it. I don't know. It doesn't seem right.
All the characters cast soft shadows onto the environment.
But like
Even
things
when
like
there
the
is no
door,
direct sunlight,
even though it
no
looks
direct
like
light sources, we still
it has
nice, fuzzy
different curves and whatnot, it is really just a flat surface, but they made the texture so elegant that it made it look like it was in 3D. So that way, they could get away with using less resources but still having it look really good. So it was really interesting just how everything was done.
The flashlight brought a whole new spin on it. So some of the environments end up being really, really dark, and you need the flashlight to get around.
Give me your hand.
We want to have the environment be really dark, but also at the same time have colorful surfaces that are sort of hidden, so when a flashlight hits one of those, it bounces off onto the ceiling.
If you shine a line on a red wall, it will bounce the red lighting on the whole environment.
And it's very difficult to do, very expensive, but we did it. Everything should have a bounce lighting. Otherwise, the world is gonna feel dry and unrealistic.
Makes sense.
I guess this is where the assholes sleep. I mean, slept.
This engine is really driven in a way towards a very high level of cinematic control over each frame. And hopefully, if we achieve our goal, you'll see it is beautiful. There are these truly beautiful moments.
I think it's really cool that on PS4 and especially PS5, they were able to achieve 60 frames per second.
What do you say? Huh?
I got you.
Damn it, Bill.
And PS3, the highest resolution they were able to do was at 720p. Which blows my mind. They got the entire game to run on PS3. It just had to be at 720p and 30 frames per second. It's like bare bone minimum.
Really dictates sort of the arc of the overall pacing. Storytelling would always want to be subtle. They would always want to keep the world grounded in reality. But gameplay has requirements where the player needs to see this thing. The player needs to immediately know that the enemy is attacking, that this room is dangerous, that this room is a puzzle that you have to solve.
What are the things that we can do on the joystick to make you feel the same way that these characters are going to feel when we get to this next pinch point in the story? There's a turn in a scene that we need these characters to take, and we need you to feel it or understand that, and that means you have to play it.
Sam! Oh, thank God. Keep running. Ah! Doorway, over there.
Run!
The frame rate's
You
not
really
the
wanna make
greatest.
sure that there's that contrast between
It was
the
definitely
negative
taken from
space
PS3.
and then the high tension spikes.
A lot of times we won't play music, or we'll play very minimal music just to let you know kind of the state, whether you're still in stealth or combat has broken out. Hearing someone's footsteps or hearing a person breathing on the other side of the door has so much tension to it.
You hear that?
I remember this part.
You feel the tension of the world, make you question whether you want to engage with these guys or kind of try to stealth around them.
That's another reason why we don't have traditional cover in the game. You smoothly move around everything, contextualizing with the environment, but you're never locked down. We want the player to, with that crafting system, with the scavenging system, with all of the abilities available to them, to constantly be moving around and changing as the moment arises.
Gameplay is all about, I have a limited set of tools, and how am I going to use those tools and those limitations to overcome this obstacle in front of me. And that obstacle might be infected, might be another class of humans that wants to kill me for a bottle of alcohol in my shoes.
It was important for us that we don't underplay the violence, because then the threat doesn't seem as real.
We see video games as this incredible medium to tell stories. We want to treat it as equals to books or comics or TV or movies. This is subject matter that would not be considered out of the ordinary to tell in one of those other forms of entertainment.
Fucking hunters. See, this could have been us.
We wanted you to buy just the desperation of these people and why they're behaving this way, because it's so brutal. And at the same time, we didn't want to make it so over the top, stylizing it, so then it doesn't become as real. It was important for us actually to hit that middle ground where it's kind of disturbing.
That glint that's happening on that curvature, it'd be good if there was a way that we can guarantee that from this angle, we're seeing it. It seems
But
really
it's
flat.
overall too bright and opaque.
Yeah, looks like paint.
Yeah, see, the blood on the ground works really well. It's something about the other shader is messed up in this environment. We gotta fix that to unify the look.
Shouldn't make you giggle or laugh or any of that. You should be kind of appalled by what you have to do, but you understand why you're doing it.
You want to feel each hit. You want to feel each concussive strike. Lives are at stake.
You want a death animation to have impactful performance, not just have a guy keel over in a ragdoll.
In real life, a guy hitting a guy takes a half a second, but in the game world, you want that to be as instantaneous as possible.
I lived my whole life in this very
Yeah,
ugly test
I noticed
level.
they
It
didn't
basically just,
ragdoll as
fight
much
dudes
as
in here
it did in
all the time.
Uncharted.
Almost every move
Whatever
is divided between like
Joel
intro
died or
and
something, it
swing.
really
One
wasn't
of the
like
many things I have to
funny
end
the
up
way his
doing
body
is,
like flopped or anything. He like
counting
died very
frames and being, like,
realistically.
frame,
Whereas
like,
Nathan Drake, as
I
soon
want
as
you to
he
get out of here. I want you to be able to start moving.
died or fell too far, he immediately went ragdolled and his body just like
They are
flopped
not
all over the
necessarily
place.
in the correct pose. When you strike them the next time, we just pop them with a 0-frame animation change, which is usually kind of a no-no, you know what I mean? Normally you want characters to blend smoothly and realistically into animations. But what we found is that you can cover that pop up with a heavy impact. They can go from almost any pose into the pose that the impact starts from, and your eye just covers up the transition for you. So if you throw a brick at a guy, it puts him in this like kind of staggering stun state. And that changes the moves that you do when you come up and punch him. So now I'm gonna come up and punch him, and now when you're punching him, because you've hit him down, you get this like auto aim moment where you get like a free headshot. I try to make it so that, you know, if you kind of know what you're doing, that you can set yourself up for 1 + 2 = 3.
Right here!
Memory on a console is a very precious resource. All of Joel's animations with every weapon, all the NPC animations, the stealth kills, you know, all of that stuff happening need to fit within a 4 meg to 5 meg memory footprint.
this is a list of everything that's loaded in game and how much memory it's taking, because memory is our most precious resource right now.
Interesting.
So we have a level, we call it the bookstore, it's in Hunter City, and this is a zone, for example. So when I set an AI to this zone, he will never leave its boundaries. I want guys to guard this exit where you have to go through, so I'll zone a couple guys around there to make sure that they, you know, they can fight you and use all this cover, but they want to stay around this door. This is another key component of the AI, is what we call the nav mesh. This defines the overall play space of where an AI knows he can or cannot go. Hey look, that's where a cover used to be, and there's a hole cut out for it. I gotta fix that. Here's some other wonderful things. See these little red polygons? Yeah, that means they're not linking right for some reason, so that means they can't really walk through here properly. It's a bug, and I need to fix it. Welcome to my life.
Man, that area would have been really helpful for all those characters not be able to walk through that.
If you look at a lot of games, NPCs are usually only alive for, you know, a few seconds before the player ends up shooting them and then they're dead. We want our guys to be much more dangerous and much more threatening, which means they have to be alive for longer. They need to exist in the world for longer, which means you as the player can witness them acting out their behaviors for longer.
So we've been working really hard on our AI systems. Back in the box, biggest bullet is going to be like AI.
So we tried a number of different prototypes with the buddies, including having Ellie be super independent of you. She would try to flank the enemies, get behind them, or get between you and them.
And a lot of times those decisions should surprise you, just like a real person, a real character would surprise you.
And we discovered after many different prototypes, the best thing for her to do generally is to stay very near you.
You need the exploration, you need the scavenging, you need something to say like, okay, if we just crank it to 11 the whole time, then it's pinned up there and there's no time to breathe, no time to assess or analyze, and no time to really contrast. There's no way of shifting the pacing.
Puzzles are really weird, especially like Naughty Dog puzzles. I think they're very simple and satisfying. Most of this puzzle is strict exploration. You can see the ladder here, you can see the pallet there, you can see a clear route up to the ladder. So you're like, okay, maybe I have to get Ellie to the pallet, push the pallet over to this side, and like Ellie will climb up and lower the ladder. So that whole part is like, that's not a puzzle, that's not regarded as a puzzle, but when you feel like you've got to the solution and you're like, okay, I'm going to climb this ladder, and you climb it, and it breaks off, hopefully then the player will feel a little bit stumped and they'll be like, I'm not really sure what I am meant to do now, and so this is where the puzzle starts. Hopefully at this point, like, all of the elements that the player needs to solve the puzzle are very
I wonder if I was
familiar to
really
them because
stumped
they've
at that
been through
part.
the previous exploration beats.
Because
they're improvising with elements that are
this game really scared me when it first came out.
a strong theme throughout, like The Last of Us. So like you're a survivor, you'll take whatever
And so
tools you're given.
I had a
and use them,
PS3
and
just
create
because I
ways to
loved
survive.
PlayStation, but I really... And then I saw that The Last of Us came out, and everyone was making a really big deal about it. And so I looked it up and saw some gameplay, and then I'm like, all right, well,
kind of new to Naughty Dog.
I never bought a game before that involved shooting at all.
Jacob Minkoff, he got this book of like the survivalist handbook and
So
homemade munitions.
I was really like
Stuff. Just start reading about
cautious about buying an M-rated game. I never bought an M-rated game before. I think the only teen-rated game I bought before was just like The Sims 2, and that was it.
It's difficult to balance the right amount of resources
So
against what you
for The Last of Us, I actually watched an entire playthrough first to make sure I really wanted to do it and if I could like handle it. But oh my gosh, my first time playing through it, I had to rewatch the playthrough as I was going because I was way too scared of what was around the other corner of like what supplies should I have ready to go.
There's a particular point in the story where the characters are having a particularly difficult.
It wasn't that way for The Last of Us Part 2. I
then
just
we
dove
want you as the
straight
player
into
to be
it.
Finding fewer items, farther apart, harder to survive. We will item starve you at the same time that those characters are feeling
And
starved and worn out.
unlike the
You expose
very
something
first time
oh, here's a cache, and if I can just
that
get into that cache.
I play
look,
other
there's
games,
a wealth of things in here.
The
God,
Last
I
of
was
Us Part
so
2
worried. My health was low.
The Last of Us is such a sentimental franchise to me that I just wanted to spend the time playing Last of Us Part 2 with like my family and my friends, and so that's what we did. But I still recorded us playing through it and the reactions of the character. So there is no video cam, there's no voice cam, but the entirety of the playthrough is recorded and it is on the channel. It's actually the very first video that is on the channel. Is just of us playing The Last of Us Part 2 for the very first time. So if you want to see that, you can. But it's, I will say it's pretty boring. But I think it is interesting, kind of going back to the mindset of like what it was like to play this for the very first time and things being a surprise, how someone would play.
Across this area, and I place a really cool like upgrade, kind of off the beaten path to reward players for exploring. So if they come all the way over here, they're gonna get this really cool training manual.
It's a funny little bit of trivia. The HUD system, not the menus, not like when you hit start and stuff, but the actual HUD system where you see the reticles and stuff, was literally created for an E3 demo early in Uncharted 1, and that's been our HUD system, the foundation of our HUD system for the last 4 games. First time in Naughty Dog's history, we hired Alex. She's awesome, and she's got a really good understanding of UI and how it applies to games.
The thing that I hate about any game's UI is when it pulls you out of the game for too long, no one wants to spend time in menus. Nobody loves UI, if we're being honest. Like, weapon slotting has probably gone through more iterations than any other system. The stuff that we finally ended up implementing, you press select, you get into this menu, then you D-pad left and right through the slots, and then D-pad up and down will change the weapon, and then just, you don't have to press X or anything, you just select out of it. When you're still, like Joel is here, that's fine, but then as soon as you get into an actual situation, so I'm gonna go over here and cause some trouble. Okay, so here they come. Oh god. Alright, so now I'm out of ammo. Now I need to like get back in that menu. I have to like run away from them, get into the menu, get out of it. And it ends up feeling like super clunky. Like again, okay, I'm out of ammo again. Get out of here. I need to take out one of my other long guns. And now Bill's in trouble. Bill's in trouble over here. And I've got to like I'm in a menu now and it's like, oh shit, whoever designed this UI is so bad. Like, what were they thinking? Bill's gonna die. In theory, it worked, but then in practice, it felt a little clunky.
We wanted it to be the absolute minimum amount of button presses. You don't say to yourself, oh, I'm never going to be able to do this in time, so I'm just going to give up. I'll die, I'll restart, let me try again. You want to always make the player feel that there is a way to survive. They can just do this fast enough.
And like, what's going to go in now?
I still feel like that in this game, because even though I played it so many times, even on Grounded, there was parts where things happened that I didn't expect would happen, and then I'm like, oh, well, I gotta improv, see what we gotta do, instead of knowing what I gotta do because I played it.
It just took way too long to get in. It was just a mess. QA was so upset at me, like, all the time. I'm sure they hate me now because of that system.
I like how they're all playing on original fat PS3s. Well, they're not all original. They're the that one is. The ones with silver paint on them are the revisions, but the ones that are chrome or they just have a black trim are the very original PS3s that can play PS2 games.
Refinement and polish. So having internal QA really helps. The industry is kind of changing from QA being this like tighten up the graphics on level 3 bro kind of vibe to like really being a more technical, mental, investigative job. On the publisher side, it's more reactive towards the code being delivered in a stable, controlled environment. Whereas on the developer side, especially at Naughty Dog, we are going beneath the art and the design. We're given enough weight where we can go up to somebody and be like, look, you have to fix this. Why? Come over, I'll show you. That kind of feedback, I would love to be able to say, like, that was us, but it gets so diffused throughout the iteration process that you're just kind of like adding your I guess like genes into the gene pool and then just seeing what happens. You know what I mean? Everyone's working all the time now. But like I tell people, like 7 weeks, and then you can have tons of time off, enjoy the sun, you know. But for now, it's like, this is it for everybody.
The last 5 weeks, crunch time. Crunch is bad, but it happens. What are you gonna do? Not release the game? Interesting thing with crunch is that it's like kind of voluntary. So it's an interesting culture thing.
It's part of making games. I feel it's human nature, right? If I'm gonna have a guest at home that's gonna come for a couple of weeks, I'm probably gonna clean their room just the day before they arrive, right? And I think it's the same thing. It's just like everything comes together at the end.
I personally enjoy crunch. I think you get this like absolute laser focus because it has to come together.
There's a camaraderie that also comes
There's a
together,
camaraderie, totally, yeah.
The vibe is everywhere, you know what I mean? Everyone's kind of like giving it 150% at this point.
We're getting there, right? You start to get these glimmers, and I don't think anyone who doesn't make games realizes how late in the process you get those glimmers.
1 week before we shipped that press demo, we're all like, this kind of sucks. What's going on here? It's like, we need to dig down and find this. And in 1 week, the fun came together.
Like you're shooting at a guy and then somebody flanks you and you hit him and you avoid the other guy who's shooting you, and then you flank and go behind cover and you're like, oh, that 5 seconds in that 15-hour game was really, really fun. How do we make that 5 seconds happen thousands more times?
My favorite video game is making video games. It is as challenging and as complex and as interesting.
If we had to like try all the things that didn't work, what's hard about crunch? It's like marching through that swamp of it not working.
I mean, nothing's ever really final because you can always make something better, always. So we're constantly changing and constantly reiterating and trying to make it better and better and better, pretty much until we ship.
As an artist, you're never really happy with your work. You could be given like 100 years to work on something, you'll still find things to nitpick and things to fix.
Yeah, you can work on the game for 10 years and you'll still be crunching at the end. So it's like, okay.
All of a sudden, it's like getting ready one morning in the shower.
They just kind of accept it.
Oh yeah, I'm about to ship another title, and this is going to be a really good title, and it gets you excited, and you're like, all right.
Do I think the game's gonna be good? Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I think it was good a little while ago, and now we're gonna make it
extra
kind of
good.
amazing. What it will take to.
They didn't know how
next
good the game was going to be before it came out, how well it would be received.
I have faith.
Every time we're shipping a game, it's terrifying. You just hope for the best.
You don't know, right? I mean, people have different opinions. We have to go with our guts, and I trust the team just to pull it off.
This, hands down, is the hardest, most challenging thing I've ever done. We sweat a lot, and we worked a lot, and we all went home tired, you know? But I think that's you're gonna see that on the screen. I think that's gonna pay off.
Ellie? Ellie?
What?
A ladder. Come on.
After David, Ellie's visibly distant. You could have done a cutscene to show, hey, you're being very distant, and she's not responding, but to also do that in gameplay, to where it's something that you've done just countless times throughout the game with, you know, let me boost you up here, get the ladder, bring it down so we can do this systemic thing, and the character responds with that, and you have to actually go over to her and go.
It's crazy, this
hey,
came out 9 years ago.
Ladder.
Still feel like this game's pretty new.
It's a subtle choice.
Like Bruce and I talked in the beginning, is like we have these mechanics. How can we exploit them in a narrative sense? And that's one of those opportunities.
I just think it's incredible that happens in game. It's not a cinematic. You know, it's something that adds weight to that controller when they're playing.
Wow, so good!
Let's go eat.
Let's go eat.
Nice. A color direction. So good. I'm so glad there was a documentary for this one. Last of Us Part 2 doesn't have a documentary yet. Maybe there will be, actually. Yeah, I wonder if they bring The Last of Us Part 2 to PS5, if they'll have a documentary and then put it on the disc, just like they did with this one. I also wonder if The Last of Us 2 came to PS5, if they'd be able to fit it on one disc, because the discs can hold more storage, or if they would still have to put it on 2 discs just because there's just so much information. I feel like it would still have to be on 2 discs. But I guess we would see. When/if that happens. There's still no announcement. But I feel like they're waiting to do anything more with The Last of Us until getting close to the 10-year anniversary, and I feel like they would release it on the 10-year anniversary of the original Last of Us. So it's going to be 1 summer from now. So we'll see. Will they make a Last of Us remake? Will they do Last of Us Part 2 on PS5? Probably. We'll see. Oh, man. But anyways, the game that comes after this one in the Naughty Dog lineup is, of course, Uncharted 4. So to see Uncharted 4, go ahead and click in the top right corner there. And then to see The Last of Us 2, go ahead and click in the top left corner here. But that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you very much, and until next time, later days.